it's hard trying to balance what they think is good driving and then what you're taught in the class, because a lot of times it's different.
So is there any communication between your driving schools and your parents?
They have a meeting.
It's pretty
at the
minimal.
No, they do.
They have a
Yeah.
meeting at the end
They
of the 30-day part of it, and it's like mandatory, else you have to do the class over or something.
And so do they tell you, does your driving school at all tell your parents what you're doing well, like at the end of each lesson, or do you wish that they
No.
were talking to each other?
No.
No, there's minimal communication. They basically just say you've got to go out with your parents and drive a little bit. But in terms of like an actual progress report, sort of saying, okay, well, you're good at maintaining a good speed, but you can't do stop signs or something like that. They don't talk to your parents at all. They just sort of say go out with them every once in a while.
I think one of the biggest issues is parents start to forget about driving laws, more specifically, and things that we are told in driver's ed. My parents would correct me and be like, no, you don't do it like that. I did it today with my instructor, so it's the miscommunication of what maybe driving laws are today or what things are being taught more adamantly or that parents don't understand anymore.
So let's talk a little bit about driver's ed. What was the most memorable part of driver's education? What did you take away from that? Was there anything that you learned that you are happy that you learned? Anything that went horribly wrong that you thought, I can't believe these people are doing this? I mean, tell me a little bit about your experience with driver's ed.
One of the worst parts for me, I know, was, or not worst parts, but one of the parts I wish was different was we had to do 6 hours of driving, and even at the end of the 6 hours, and it was a different lesson every hour, like every time you go out. And if you didn't complete that, like the task that day, instead of going back and relearning it, it was just kind of pass and you go on. And so that always stuck out in my mind, as I wish instead of just kind of moving on after you didn't learn it as well, going back and doing better with it.
To be honest, I don't think I learned anything in driver's ed except for the mechanics of my car better. I mean, how to work things on my car better, but driving, I mean, not really. I don't feel like I feel like I just drove and that was it.
So if you feel like you went to driver's ed and you didn't learn anything, where did you actually learn? From your parents?
Probably more my parents. I mean, watching my parents growing up, watching my friends growing up, I drive, there's gas and there's brakes and you go and you stop at stoplights. I mean, I feel like it was just kind of acquired things over the years that I knew. I mean, I knew what all the signs meant and I knew how to get around. It was just I was actually operating the vehicle. And so, I mean, driver's ed helped me know where to find things that I needed to use, like my fog lights or things like that, but nothing specific when it came to actually driving.
Watching videos there's a lot of difference from like actually doing it to watching videos, and we spend most of our driver's training is watching videos. So if we were to go out and do it, I think it would have been better.
Do you wish that driver's ed was better? You had, that you had a more strict driver's ed?
I think if driver's ed taught us more and was more specific and more concise and made it a point, the things we learned, then restrictions on our driving and the fatalities and the accidents would be less.
I wish it's just different. You know, you're supposed to go for 30 classes during a month for about an hour or so, I think, 2 hours. And you've just had a full day of school, and then you go to this, and you're supposed to like get everything they're telling you that day, and it's kind of unrealistic. Plus driving in theory doesn't really help me drive because it's more of a practical thing. You should be there and learn hands-on, and you don't do that quite as much as you learn in theory.
I definitely think there should be more hands-on things. Because you drive, it's like 6 times for an hour or half an hour, maybe. I don't know. So I feel like they don't give enough practice, and then hands-on things and like changing tires, I think that would be really useful.
Well, like Mike said, after a full day of school to go to a 2-hour class that you're watching videos in. I mean, in school, kids sleep through videos. After school, what are kids gonna do? They're gonna sleep through the videos. And then to only drive 6 times, that's all you're learning from.
So do you guys, I'm sure you guys are well versed in Michigan's graduated driving laws? The stepped.
Oh,
yeah.
Get mail all the time.
Wait, like the curfews, is that what?
Yeah, like the curfews and how many passengers you can have in your car and all of that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Didn't they just pass new laws on that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Brand new laws.
Those are the biggies.
Yeah. I just when you turn 17, they go away, so I only had the
No, they
10.
don't.
Oh, they
It's,
don't?
it's whenever you
No, they don't.
get the normal license.
Good
So,
When you
um,
turn 17, if you're not already 17, your curfew's midnight.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I know the state's trying to make you aware of them. Do you guys listen to them, to the laws?
I've been 18 for a few months, so it doesn't really apply to me.
It's not like we go out of our way to break them, but if I can't even think of a circumstance where I need to, but generally it'd be like carpooling for a sports team, going to practice or coming home from a meet or something like that. I'm not just gonna leave guys there, and I'm gonna risk a ticket for that, but, you know,
I feel like most instances where teenagers break those laws is because it's become incredibly inconvenient. It went from midnight, which most teenagers already thought to be inconvenient, to 10 o'clock for 16-year-olds. And Saturday night, some people's nights start at 10 o'clock. It just makes it really difficult. And that's another thing, driving to school, to only have one passenger, I at least find it slightly outrageous.
I feel like in this case, the state is sort of trying to do what our parents should be doing. Like they're trying to eliminate situations where we're driving with 3 or 4 other peers in the car late at night when we don't have a whole lot of experience. And honestly, if that was my kid doing that, I would tell them not to do it. So to that extent, like why do we break that law on occasion? I mean, you guys have. I mean, I'm sure you guys haven't always done what your parents told you to do. It just feels like that. It's just sort of rebelling against our parents a little